Hello and welcome to another episode of Life in the Mind, a neurodivergent podcast hosted by neurodivergent people. I'm Joy Amy Wigman.
And I'm Murray Spear.
And we've got the lovely Tammy in the studio with us. Hello again, Tammy.
Hello again.
Hello. And this is one of our topic episodes where we pick a topic to talk about in relation to neurodivergence and just have a chat about it. And we decided that we'd talk about stacking. So this is the fact that quite often you don't have one condition or disability, or neurodivergence, in fact, you have several.
Yeah. All come along at once.
Yeah.
We're waiting ages for one diagnosis and suddenly...
all come along at once. I think we are all stackers, aren't we?
Yeah, we are, yeah.
Yeah, we all
like
stack.
the best kind of Pringle. What?
Yeah. No, I think stackers were a cut price version of Pringles.
I'm now thinking of those tiny little snack pots that they did. There was like a Pringles giveaway or like a free gift thing where you had like a tiny little lunchbox snack thing with Pringles. You put them out. Anyway. I really want Pringles now.
No. We are not sponsored by or endorsed in any way by Pringles.
Other brands are available.
They are available. So stacking, right? So I don't know about you guys, but I have found quite often when dealing with medical professionals, actually dealing with the general public as well, that they don't seem to think that stacking is a thing.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. It seems to be like, you've got this. Oh, and that. It's like a side point.
Yeah.
I mean,
one thing is like the primary, and then the others are secondary and tertiary, or just extras.
When in fact, often people have more than one condition. Yeah. So, like you were telling us on the previous episode, Tammy, that your learning disability got sort of misdiagnosed.
Yes, it did. Yes, it's a severe. Yes, it was severe.
When in fact you have like a mild learning disability, and you're autistic.
Yeah, I'm also a bit days where I'm depressed as well, so I'm not always so positive. So I take some little bit of medication for that as well.
For depression as well.
Yeah.
So if they like factored in that you might actually be stacking conditions, then maybe they would not have misdiagnosed you.
It's so easy for things to build up in that way, especially when you're putting in mental health stuff as well, because things like that coming out of other things, especially if they've not been diagnosed or been mismanaged or misdiagnosed, then it's like, oh, I know I'm different and I'm bullied for it. Therefore, I'm likely to develop some bad feelings about some things.
Yeah. I did some sort of reading up when I discovered that I was neurodivergent, about fibromyalgia, because I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia about 20 years ago, and actually there are a lot of similar characteristics, and so there is actually a danger of like an autism diagnosis being missed, because there are things like sensory overload is a big thing, hypersensitivity, brain fog, disorientation, and like a complete like shutdown.
Yeah.
And so weirdly, some of that's quite similar to being autistic.
Yes.
So that's like stuff that was potentially missed because of a stacking and just it not being considered that it might be a stack.
Yeah, and I think I had the same, because I've got FND, functional neurological disorder, which I've had since I was 13. I am 30 now at time of recording. 17 years, yes. Quick maths.
Well done. I can do it.
and
The quick maths has lost your train of thought.
no, I'm now thinking about maths and doing other random bits of brain. But yeah, and that was my first problem point thing. There was a very big change in my life and stuff, and I think that, like you said, because there are a lot of crossovers in F&D manifesting in noticeable external ways, especially how my presentation of that manifests, with kind of shutdown or loss of speech, or language comprehension, stuttering, and overload and overwhelm, and and then that feeds into triggering the F&D episodes where I have gradual paralysis, or gradual or sudden paralysis on my left side or across my entire body, with pain and non-epileptic seizures, and like the line between those two things is such a grey line. And so I think the same, like I think my neurodivergent stuff was being lost because of the F&D being there as this really, really obvious thing, because of course constant pain mixed in with like sometimes you're a bit paralyzed, you know. It's quite a obvious one to be like, this is a problem.
Yeah.
Whereas actually, since I've found out about the neurodivergence and been managing that stuff more, it's given me insight into the F&D and able to manage that more, which then also helps the stacking onto the mental health side of things as well.
Oh, that is good.
Yeah.
So do you like pick out? That's what I was going to ask Tammy as well. Can you identify what part of you is your learning disability and what part of you is the autism?
No, I can understand more my autism more because it's more, but my learning disability, unless I struggle with my lessons and stuff, I knew then, but because I'm not at school anymore, I struggle with that. But the autism, I always know. You know that it's that's giving you the problems right now. Yes. Or giving you the wonder right now. Yeah.
So like the difference between you can feel the difference between like when you don't want to do something because you're feeling depressed. Yeah. Versus because it's sensorily.
Yeah. Like sometimes I still want to go out of bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Being like, especially that mental health versus the neurodivergence thing of, I can tell the difference between dissociating and zoning out.
Yeah.
or like daydreaming and psychosis. It's like they're very different feelings.
Yeah.
It's really quite distinct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know what you mean. Cause, like sometimes I will say to my husband, like, I'm struggling a bit with what we're doing at the moment, and he'll ask, like, is it a fibre thing or is it an autistic thing? And it's weird. I feel like I know when it's an autism thing.
Yeah.
It feels different.
Yeah.
Even if the result is the same.
Yes.
So like a fibromyalgia brain fog. Like now that I know that I'm neurodivergent, I can tell the difference between when it's an autistic thing and I have disassociated, for instance, or when it's brain fog.
Yeah.
It's a really odd thing. Have you had problems with talking about your other stuff because something takes the particular forefront?
I don't mind talking about that stuff, but most people ask about my autism, not about my learning disabilities or anything like that. No.
Well, they're so often viewed as one and the same.
Yeah.
Do you find that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
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 Because I think it's one of those.
A YouGov study we were looking at.
There was some numbers on a page with some words on YouGov about some statistics.
And a certain number of people.
My brain was too foggy to remember them.
That autism was a learning disability.
Yeah.
Which
I think it was about 60%
Yeah, it was quite high.
People. I think it's 61. I'm now reading it again in my brain. Brains are fascinating. I'm just looking back at the page, and I think it was 61 or 62%. Believe or like viewed autism as a neurodevelopmental disability, and which is a really interesting. Just it's a different thing to. What's the difference between disability and difference, or disability and divergence? What is neurodivergence versus a disability? When is something disabling? All of those conversations.
So many conversations.
Yeah, which are important conversations to constantly be having.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a definitive answer, or it's a constantly moving answer. Maybe, but it's constant. It needs to be a constant conversation.
I think I think a lot of the people that I've spoken to and friends of mine have said that things like mental health in particular kind of get missed because of their disability. Because when they go and they see a medical professional, the thing they focus on is like the biggest fire in the room, or what they perceive to be the biggest fire in the room, rather than the other little fires that are going on. And I've had a few friends that have said, they're not concentrating on this, or because they know that I have anxiety, they're not concentrating on this extra pain that I'm getting from my chronic condition, because they're taking it as part of the anxiety, or just taking it as an amalgamation.
Yes, or misinterpreting what you're saying in terms of like, oh, I'm saying I'm in constant pain on my left side, and they're going, oh, you're stressed. What? It's like, oh, you're it's some sort of conversion of, oh, so you get pain when you're stressed. It's like, that's not constant, sir. That is not what I said. I'm sorry. No. Constant is the word here. And because they kind of identified one, like for me, it was the mental health that always took precedent over everything else. So actually loads of other things fell to the sides. Because that was you were talking before we were recording about this idea of what's the, if someone asks you kind of, okay, so out of your problems, what's if you're in a room and
it's on
there was on fire,
yep.
Like where's the biggest fire? Which fire do we need to put out first? And the difference between like
it's like it's an old meme. So the biggest fire is in the curtains, but the fire that's doing the most damage is the one that's setting alight to all my photographs.
Yeah.
So which one do you want to? There's a small fire. There's a fire burning in the corner, but that's always on fire. So till we worry about that.
Get used to it, and you can just manage it.
I don't know if you found that in filling out forms as well. Which Tammy's face, like, yeah, we all feel that way about filling out forms.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
I have to help with filling out forms because I don't understand them. Basically, they make it too complicated. They do. I sometimes go to the drop-in with the enhancement team in Cheltenham if I've got forms to do, because it's very helpful, Murray. They're great.
I either really enjoy filling out forms and doing admin stuff, or I'm just not in the place for it and want to destroy it very quickly. It's very much one of the two.
Well, with the forms, when people on forms ask if you have a disability, there's always like one box.
It is really small.
One really small box. Like, I need to put about 3 or 4 things on here. Where am I going to write
How
them?
do these affect your life? 1 word answers, please. What? 1 word answers? Nope, not possible.
No. My condition's not even 1 word.
Sorry. It's long and varied, and no doctor has ever really heard about it. So I end up educating the doctor in our 10-minute appointment. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a friend who has a condition that's only shared with another 5 people in the country. She's always like, when she goes to doctors, look, let's just accept I know more about this than you do.
That must be difficult.
Really hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you find when you're talking to people and the subject of disability comes up, and if they ask you about it, like, I feel like the more I list, the less legitimacy I have.
Yeah.
Like I'm causing more of a fuss.
Well, there's always this thing of, are you making up?
Yeah.
A feeling of, people
Yeah.
go, we get
Yeah.
an imposter.
Yeah, especially if you're mild like me, people wouldn't know I've got no disabilities or
No.
autism, so they think I'm just a normal person.
Yeah, and the stereotypes of what it
Yeah.
should look like.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the presentation of, oh, well, you're not Rain Man, which is obviously the Lord and Saviour of all of what is true and it's not. It is not that. But there are so many illustrations of what people. Well, there are illustrations out there that are wrong in the world, and that's what people then believe.
This is what this looks like.
This is what this looks like. This is how this presents. This is, if you're not this, you're not. So ADHD as well. You're not a naughty schoolboy. Well, you don't have ADHD. Or, oh, but you can pour a glass of water for yourself. You're not dyspraxic. Or, but you read books. But you were able to do a degree.
Yeah, you're.
How can you just be dyslexic?
You're not autistic. You're doing a
so
master's
many.
degree. Like.
I'm
getting that
then
at the
you
moment.
really get
Getting some of that at the moment.
joyous bits. But I think out of all of the things, to kind of bring it to a little bit of a summation, for me at least in my stacking, I'd say that the neurodivergent stuff is the least disabling stuff. It's the least, I wouldn't look at it as a disability. I would no way look at it as disability. It's disabling because of it trying to exist in a world that doesn't work for me. But when I can exist in a space that does work for me, I can do things in that way I need to, then actually I can just be, and I can get on perfectly normally, and it can be useful in various ways. I can express my uniqueness as strength. Yeah.
It's a state of being.
Yeah, it is.
It's a state of being.
It is. Yeah.
Cool. So I guess homework for you guys is to comment and let us know about some of your stacking, maybe some of your stacking stories.
Have a look into them and see, and have a think about. It'd be really interesting to hear other people's stories. Actually,
Yeah,
wouldn't
definitely.
it? Of
what
there's
their stacking
possible
looks
things
like.
and if they had any things blocking other things.
Yeah.
I think that'd be quite fascinating to hear.
Well, it's always really nice to have Tammy in the studio.
Thank you for having me.
Come and talk to us again soon.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think we'll end it there. Okay, folks, that's it for this episode. You can follow us on Instagram at life.inthemind. Our other socials are linked in our bio. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. See you next time.